Hey guys, Ryan Alford here. I love talking about some of my favorite podcasts, and this is another one that's on our network, the Radcast Network. You know if it's on the network, it's good. Well, let me tell you, you know who's good? It's Rudy Rickstein's The Empowered Life Podcast. I'm telling you, it's not about looking outward. It's about looking inward. You got to know yourself. You got to know and want the best for yourself, and no one is more loving, caring, and insightful in teaching you these lessons. Rudy Rickstein's a good friend and one of our favorites on the Radcast Network. Just amazing guests, and him and his wife will come on and tell these stories. Number one, you want to hug someone after it because Rudy is so loving and caring, and he's also counseling some of the largest companies in the world on these principles to help them get the most out of their business. But ultimately, this is about self-improvement. If you want to improve yourself, listen to The Empowered Life with Rudy Rickstein's on the Radcast Network.
It's really hard to achieve anything beyond what you believe is possible, especially your belief about yourself.
This is Right About Now with Ryan Alford, a Radcast Network production. We are the #1 business show on the planet with over 1 million downloads a month. Taking the BS out of business for over 6 years and over 400 episodes. You ready to start snapping necks and cashing checks? Well, it starts right about now.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Right About Now. I'm Ryan Alford, your host. And you know, I think about a lot how we make your lives right, how we make them more now. And look, there's nothing more fascinating to me. I've been digging into the brain a lot lately. Neuroscience is kind of on my mind. Some of my friends are trying to talk me into like this neuroscience investment, all this, but I'm fascinated by what it takes to learn and how the brain works. So you know what? We got to go to the expert, and that's Jim Kwik. He's the author of Limitless and just a brain badass. That's what I'll call you, Jim. What's up?
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. Thanks everyone who's tuning into this brain upgrade conversation.
Hey, the #1 brain coach, baby. You know, like, we got to go to the best. I'm like, I got sent your book. I'm going through it. I've got my highlighter out. I've got notes. I'm like, okay, how are we going to learn more about the brain? How we learn better? And you know what, Jim, I told you this pre-episode, but like, I've got 4 boys and they're young and they're growing up, and you know, like, I see the homework they're doing that I did, you know, myself 40 years ago. And I'm like, why aren't these guys should have a mandated reading of Limitless.
Yeah, thank you.
What do we have to do to make that happen?
You know, Limitless is really an owner's manual for your brain. You know, your brain is your #1 wealth building asset. Everyone who's listening, nobody is paid. It's not like it was hundreds of years ago where our value in society was our brute strength. Today, it's our brain strength. It's no longer your muscle power. It's important to have, but it's also your mind power. And the faster you can learn, the faster you can earn. Because knowledge today is not only power, knowledge is profit. And yeah, it's interesting. In school, they teach you what to learn: math, history, science, but there's 0 classes on how to learn. And I really feel like that's the thing that's missing. You talk about, you know, your children, they're learning, you know, in things that may or may not be that relevant, but certainly what is very relevant is learning how to focus, learning how to concentrate, learning how to think, learning how to understand, learning how to solve problems, learning how to get into like flow states and master your habits, learning how to remember things, you know, because when you can do all those things, then everything in your life gets easier, right? If you can learn faster, you can apply that towards money, marketing, management, martial arts, music, Mandarin, everything gets easier, right? So I think it's the ultimate skill to have. It's an area called meta learning, the science of learning how to learn. And learning could be fun, you know, something that could be easier. I think people are working way too hard to learn, to study, to memorize a speech they have to give or on stage, or a video, sales video or script, and remembering names, you know, or they buy books and they sit on their shelf unread and become shelf help, not self-help. You know, I just feel like there's a huge opportunity here for people to upgrade their #1 wealth building technology, which is your brain. And that's the nature of my work.
Well, it's going to be required reading. My son Clayton's 14, and I'll tell you, this one right here with my highlights is literally going to him today. I wanted to have this episode first, so I didn't lose it. But Clayton Alford will be getting Limitless for a gift tonight at the Alford dinner table. I love it. You got 3 parts in the book: mindset, motivation, and methods. Those are the keys to being limitless. You know, I will say, if you can master yourself, you can master anything. We're such complex people. And I think we externalize so many things. It's like, oh, how do I master these things around me? You know, we try to control when we need to focus more internally. Isn't that somewhat a lot of what we're talking about here?
Yeah, I think our external world is a reflection of our internal world, no doubt. I think there's a version of ourself that's patiently waiting. I think the goal is we show up every single day until we're introduced, to that person. I feel like we're happiest when we make progress. Limitless is not about being perfect. It's just about advancing and progressing. And, you control the controllables. And I think the three things you could always control, if anyone feels limited, like the opposite of limitless, if you're not advancing and feel stuck, like maybe in your income and your impact, your happiness, your learning ability, whatever, relationships, there's only three forces that keep you stuck in that box, right? That box is three-dimensional. And these are the same three forces that will liberate you and give you freedom outside that box. And I think it's either going to be your mindset, your motivation, or the methods you're using. At any time we can control our head, our heart, our hands, our wit, our will, or our way, if you will. And, and so like, let's say people want to, the methodology is there, right? A lot of people know what to do, but they don't do what they know. Common sense is not always common practice. Originally, Limitless, when I was about to submit it, was 100% methodology: how to read 3 times faster, how to learn languages, how to remember names and faces, how to focus and get in flow state, get a lot of work done in less time. But before I hit send to my publisher, I was like, will 100% of the people who read this book get the results they're hoping for? And my honest answer was no, because what keeps you stuck, and a lot of people know what to do with the methods, but their mindset is, I don't deserve it. I don't believe it's possible. I don't believe I'm capable. Maybe it's possible for you, but not me. Or it's a matter of your motivation. You're not motivated to get out of that box. And so like you procrastinate, you put things off, you know what to do. You can have a limitless mindset and limitless upgraded methods on how to market and get, and angel invest or, to read faster, whatever the methodology is, but you're not motivated. So we broke the book down into 3 chapters. And we just recently added a 4th, which is the science of momentum, really creating less friction, things that would advance, things like AI that could create more momentum, things like nootropics. What are the cognitive supplements that would actually enhance human studies shown to improve focus, memory, your mood, your motivation, things like understanding your brain type. We added a whole section there. And this is interesting. It's the thing I'm probably most excited about is I realized that after 30 years of teaching people how to have the best brains and perform at their best, whether it's in the NFL, the NBA, the U.S. Air Force, where I'm training, I realize it's not how smart you are. It's actually how are you smart. It's not how smart your kids are. It's how are they smart. It's not how smart your team is. It's not how smart they are. It's how are they smart. And everybody has genius. So we wrote this as a playbook, but we realized there are 4 different types of brain types. When you understand your brain type, because not everything works for everybody, just like not every exercise is for each, physiology, or not every food is right for every single person, but we realized that not every tip would help people to read, focus, memory based on, but if you find out when they learn their best and how they learn their best, you can customize it. So just like there's personalized medicine based on a test, like your DNA test, or personalized nutrition based on a microbiome test or a nutrient profile test. We created a 4-minute test that's in the book. It's also online. And it'll tell you your brain animal. And once you understand it, it opens up whole new worlds of possibility and potential. And so it's interesting. People could take the test at mybrainanimal.com. I'm curious which animal you would identify, would be yours. But really simply, I could give people a 5-minute summary on it. It'd be very practical.
Yeah, let's do that. That's good practice.
Yeah. So this is, people could go through it and they could post it online. They could tag us both so we can see what the dominant animal is in your community. Yeah. But remember this word code, CODE. The C are your cheetahs. And if you're a cheetah, your dominant trait is action. These are individuals that adapt extremely quickly. They thrive in fast-paced environments. They have strong intuition. They implement and they act. It's just like a second nature to them. The O in code. So these are if you're watching this on video, this is.
I love this. You got to watch the video. Go to really plug right, Jim. Yeah, got to go to YouTube to check out the YouTube. This is a audio visual podcast, and you got to see what Jim is sharing on the screen.
Yeah, we're turning this into a masterclass. So the O are your owls, and their dominant trait is logic. So these are people who love data. They love facts. They love figures, formulas. They're very logical and rational, right? Now, even think about it. A cheetah would learn differently, but they'd also buy differently than an owl who needs evidence, who wants case studies, right? Yeah. The D in code are your dolphins, and your dolphins, their dominant trait are creativity. They have an incredible imagination. They're great problem solvers. They are often entrepreneurs that could see, they have a vision of their brand or their business that maybe other people can't yet catch up with. They don't see it yet. They're very passionate behind it. They're great with pattern recognition. And then finally, the E are your elephants. And your elephants, their primary dominant trait is empathy. These are people who are very compassionate. They are people. The interpersonal skills very strong. They have a lot of empathy, so they care. They want people to feel seen. They want people to feel heard. They use inclusive language instead of like me and I. They use more words like we and us, right? And it's interesting because these 4 brain types, they learn differently. It's kind of like if somebody's listening and they're remember a time where they didn't get something for some reason, they're frustrated. Maybe the way the teacher teaches is different than the way that you learn. And like their brain type is different than your brain type. And you're like 2 ships in the night, and you pass each other and there's no connection. You don't even recognize the other one's there. And so everybody has a dominant brain type. It could change over time, but just like if you're right-handed, it doesn't mean you don't use your left hand. It doesn't mean you're not strong in other areas, but you have a certain trait that just is dominant and it makes your life easier. Where does this play out? Like we had our team take this assessment. This is the assessment, and we're making it free for your audience. So it's again, mybrainanimal.com. They'll get prescriptions on how to read faster, improve their memory, give speeches without notes, but also how to sell and how to be able to market, how to be able to parent, because that's all brain type. Everything's coming from this control center, between our ears. So, for example, our team took it, and 100% of our customer service team are elephants. Like we didn't even hire for that. But when you know what your strength is, you're going to look for places where you're in your element, right? The roles and responsibilities that go to your passions and your power. And so like in our, it's a customer service team, our elephants. Why? Because they have high empathy. They want people to feel seen and heard. Their success is based on our students' success. There are community builders. They pull people together, right? Our CFO is extreme owl. Loves the numbers, loves the data. My business partner, our CEO, she's a dolphin. She's our visionary. That's holding the vision constant. And so it's interesting. You see this in pop culture too. I mean, if you take, I don't know, like probably a popular show like Friends. Ross Geller was a scientist professor. He's the owl, right? Phoebe was the creative musician. She's the dolphin. Joey just acts, doesn't even think, goes on intuition. Cheetah. Monica always had all the parties at her place. She brought her little friends together, wanted to host everything. She's the elephant. So once you understand how people's brains are, you would sell to these different brain types different. You would coach them differently. You would market to them differently, right? Because you would even relate personal relationships differently. Because it's kind of like love languages.
Yeah.
Love languages, the 5 languages.
I was thinking that same thing, Jim. I was thinking about my wife and I communicating. I was thinking this would work for our communication probably too.
So much so, because in love languages, we tend to, express love the way we prefer to receive it. But 2 people could be on, have different types and then miss each other, even though they sincerely love each other, right? So cheetahs, even in communication style, you'll see cheetahs are direct and they're decisive. They try to get straight to the point. Their speech is concise. They focus on action, right? They dislike beating around the bush because it just takes time. Owls communicate differently. They prefer details. They prefer logical sequence, a presentation of facts and figures and data. They're just more rational that way. Dolphins would would communicate differently. They'd be more expressive. They would often speak about the bigger picture, about future plans, about innovative ideas. They're very passionate and excited about possibility. And your elephants, their communication is keen on understanding and validating the feelings and perspectives of others. They're more patient. They take the time to listen. But even when you think about from a sales situation, if you're selling to, because I know you have had tremendous success, as a business marketing podcast also, if you're selling to a cheetah, they appreciate directness. They appreciate value efficiency. Skip the small talk, present the key benefits, demonstrate how the product or service can give them immediate results. But for an owl, they're different. They respect evidence. They appreciate well-researched presentations, statistics, case studies, be prepared to answer in-depth questions, give them time a little to ponder over their decisions. And dolphins, if you're selling to them, speak to their visions, show them how your offering fits into a larger picture or how it could pave a way to future innovations, engage them in possibility and big ideas. And if you're selling to an elephant, yes, vision is good and data is good, but the relationship is paramount for an elephant, right? Yeah. So the value relationship, they value trust. You want to spend time understanding their needs, demonstrate you genuinely care about their success, and that you're going to be there post-sale. And so there's different ways, but my point of bringing this up is once you understand how your brain works, you can work your brain. And you could personalize it. And then, it's interesting. You could text this to your team, text it to your family, your spouse. It takes the judgment out of also because
yes.
It explains their behavior
yes.
a lot based on their brain type. And then also takes the self-judgment off of ourselves, in terms of recognizing where we're strong and the traits that, that we have or lack.
Self-awareness is one of the, the biggest those traits. And it's one of those words we kick around, phrases, but the power of it is so important. And look, let me just say this for our audience. The value that Jim just delivered right there, if you really digest that, I need you to hit rewind, go back and listen, go take the test and figure out what type you are. But what Jim just broke down for you there isn't just so you know yourself, which is super important. It's so how you know how to apply yourself against different types to lead to the activities and the actions that you want to happen. And that's real value, Jim. I really appreciate that breakdown. And I was sitting there going, so here's my problem. I was sitting there listening to you talk and I go, damn, if a cheetah and a dolphin had a baby, I'm it. and I'm not sure which one I am, which I know I'm creative probably more than anything. I'm not type A. I'm definitely more creative, but I go fast. And then my wife is a owl. Is it owl elephant? What's the E?
Yeah, elephant is empathy, owl.
So I know why we're opposites attract, I guess. We're bred of those two animals.
Complement really well. And it even examples of focus is a superpower nowadays. We need to be able to generate focus and concentrate to get things done. A cheetah would prefer short bursts of focus. They use techniques that we teach in Limitless, like the Pomodoro technique, where you focus for 25 to 45 minutes, with intensely for short periods. Then you do a little brain break, right? But this would align with a cheetah's fast-paced nature. They could also, during these brain breaks, incorporate some kind of physical movement because they get a little restless sitting all the time before and after a focus session. To help them to focus, a cheetah would give them clear goals. Cheetahs work best when they have a clear target and a destination. So setting specific achievable goals are very strong for them. But owls, they work a little different. You can enhance their focus by something simple like organizing their workspace, minimizing clutter, having a structured plan for meetings and tasks, breaking things down into bite-sized bits to maintain their focus, to prevent overwhelm, scheduling deep work sessions. A dolphin's different. With our dolphins, we have them mind mapping things, which is a visual note-taking, making way that they can see the whole picture. We give them creative breaks to help them reinvigorate, to prevent burnout. We have a variety of tasks because dolphins could lose focus if they get bored, right? Elephants are different. Elephants, it's all about their focus comes from other people. So working in teams or groups can help elephants stay focused and stay on task. They draw energy from social interactions. They love, maybe even so they benefit from consistent routines that involve regular breaks and time for them to connect with themselves and reflect and have empathy and all that. But I do believe self-awareness is a superpower. I totally agree with you. There's a sign. I don't know if a lot of people saw it. When in Matrix, the movie The Matrix, where Keanu Reeves goes to see the Oracle, Neo goes to see the Oracle in her kitchen, I think, and she was like baking cookies.
Yeah.
If you look above, because that's like where he's going to get the wisdom, right? Right above the door was a little sign that I think most people missed it, but it says, "Know thyself."
Yeah.
And it's so interesting when you're talking about self-awareness that, I think part of our success for everyone here, I feel like if you could relate to this, let us know, but it's having the curiosity to know yourself, right? And then having the courage to be yourself. That's a different game. Having the curiosity to know yourself, which is maybe you go to therapy or you're doing your plant medicine or you're journaling or you're meditating, introspection. But then some people really know themselves. They know what they value. They know what their mission is. They know what they stand for, right? They have a clear identity, but they're not being that person because it takes courage. When other people's opinions and other people's expectations and fear of looking a different way. But there's definitely an art and science to our growth and our success.
Yeah, but I do think doing these exercises, I think it removes some of those barriers, like it drops some of those walls, because I think a lot of people, I mean, look, we all fear, nobody likes judgment. I mean, no matter how, I feel like I'm as Teflon to it as most people because I really don't give a shit, but I'm not inhuman.
Mm-hmm.
But it helps when you know yourself though, because then you're aware of these things. It's self-awareness combined with emotional intelligence. It's like, boom. And that's how we do it. We got to get limitless, baby. So I do like, this is one of my favorite quotes from the book. I'm gonna jump right into it.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power. That's lie number 4. You'll understand when you read the book. New belief, knowledge has to be acted on. Knowledge combined with action equals power. That's what I circled that. I think I put 4 highlight colors on it. I almost pulled it off the page.
When you said it, I got goosebumps. I call them truth bumps. But in the mindset section, we unravel limiting beliefs because your brain is like this incredible supercomputer, and your self-talk is the program it will run. So if you tell yourself, "I'm not good at remembering names," you won't remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your computer not to. Right. If people truly understood how powerful their mind is, they wouldn't say or think something they didn't want to be true. And that's not to say you have negative thought and ruins your life any more than eating a donut will ruin your life. But if you eat that donut 30 times a day, every single day, there will definitely be consequences. Same thing with our thoughts. When I go to events, and speak, I'll do, if there's time, I'll do these demonstrations. Let's say there's 5,000 people in the audience. We'll pass around the microphone and 100 people introduce themselves, and I'll memorize all their names, right? Or we'll put a whiteboard on the stage and they'll write down 100 words or numbers or whatever. I'll memorize it. But I always tell people, I don't do this to impress you. I do this to express to you what's possible, because the truth is every single one of your listeners, they could do that too, regardless of their age or their background or education level, financial situation, gender, history, IQ. We just weren't taught. Right. And so I'm on this mission for the past 32 years. I'm in my 50s. I've been doing this a long time.
Limitless. You're like ageless.
Limitless. But I think a lot like this, it's a state of mind. Right. But I've realized that because I grew up with learning challenges. I had a traumatic brain injury when I was 5. I had migraines every day. I thought it was normal. I would have balance issues. I would be very awkward. It took me 3 years longer to learn how to read. I was put in special education. When I was 9, I was slowing down the class and being teased pretty harshly. Teacher came to my defense, and from the whole class pointed to me, said, "Leave that kid alone. That's the boy with the broken brain." But that label became my limit. So talk about mindset. Every single time I did badly in school, I would say, because I have the broken brain. Every time I wasn't picked for sports, I had the broken brain. So that was my mindset. And it's really hard to achieve anything beyond what you believe is possible, right? Especially your belief about yourself. At the same time, when I was going through my challenges, when I was 7, I lost my grandmother to Alzheimer's. And it's heartbreaking to anyone who's ever, experienced a family member having dementia. Especially when I was 5, 6, she would call me by my father's name. She would repeat something she just said 30 seconds ago. So we donated all the proceeds to Limitless. In the first couple of years, we sold 1 million copies of the book, 40 different languages. We donated all to charity. I mean, we built schools in Ghana, Guatemala, Kenya, Alzheimer's research, in memory of my grandmother. But I bring this up because I think as philosophy, you learn to earn to return, right? To have more to be able to give and, have that impact. That being said, I will do this tirelessly, and I'll do this in front of audiences. And even though I'm very introverted, very shy, my superpower growing up as a kid was being invisible, because I never knew the answers, right? And I was always being picked on. So I would always slump down, try to take up less space because I don't want to be seen. I would sit behind the tall kid in class or sit all the way in the back. I mean, my 2 biggest challenges were learning and public speaking, because I never knew anything. And the universe has a sense of humor, because what do I do every day? It's public speak in this thing called learning. But just a reminder to everybody that our challenges lead to change, that our struggles give us strength. I don't know. I don't know, Ryan, maybe I don't know one strong person that had an easy life. No. I just don't, and just, my thing is, I believe that we are the pilot of our minds. We don't have to be the passenger. And, I just want to show people really what they're capable of, because I had so much struggles. I've learned some things to compensate, and I feel a more obligation to share with people, because shame on me if other people are struggling with, lack of focus, lack of motivation, lack of, belief in themselves, lack of, just forgetfulness, all the things that we help, brain fog, all the things I was struggling with for most of my life.
Talking with Jim Kwik. We're just going to call him the founder of the brain operating system. That's what it should be. The BOS, baby. And so
I like that.
It is. And I distill. That's what my brain does. I listen to people talk. I distill things. And, here's what I love about you, Jim. A lot of people write books. Now we got a lot of knowledge experts out there, and they don't have a story for why they did it. It's just, regurgitated or things like that. What really comes across in the book and with talking with you is I feel like when you just told that story, I feel the pain and I feel the learning and what you went through that's what it's like. That struggle made the BOS, you know what I mean? So that's what your gift is. You went through that, down in the valley to come back up to the mountaintop, to bring this gift.
And I think, I taking my mess and turn it into my message. I really feel that we all, I don't know, I have this thing in the book that talks about the difference between passion and purpose, right? And for me, the utility of it is passion is something that lights you up. And I hope a lot of people who are listening have things that light them up. It's not limited to one thing. You can be very passionate about a lot of things that light you up. And I feel like our purpose is how you use your passion to light other people up. So for example, learning is my passion. It wasn't always, because I was a horrible learner, probably worse than anybody listening to this, but it eventually became my passion. So that lights me up. Teaching people how to learn lights other people up. So that's my purpose. And I feel like it's hard to stop somebody who knows where they're going and why they're going there. I think things have to go from your head to your heart to your hand, right? People listening, maybe I can relate to this. You have goals in your head or resolutions or KPIs or whatever. But if you're not acting with your hands consistently, you have to check in with the second H, which is your heart, right? The symbol of emotion and energy. And I feel like even remembering people's names. A lot of people don't remember names because they're not you don't remember all names, but you don't forget all names. I guarantee you the names that you tend to remember, genius leaves clues. There's a method behind what looks like magic. So it's not happened randomly. You're probably attracted to that person, or that person be good for your business, right? So it happens naturally. So the nature of my work is seeing that genius and showing you how to apply that genius in other areas, areas that you're doing really well in, where you can focus, where you can remember easily and effortlessly, where you can get in that flow state. How can you map that over into areas that you don't have that focus or that flow or that, or you have that forgetfulness or something else. But it's magical what the mind can do. Like I'm so excited and optimistic. Even with, you mentioned AI, like I'm very excited about that. Like for me, technology is a tool for us to use, and it's just how it's used, right? Like fire is the earliest form of technology. Fire can be used to cook your food, or fire could burn down your home. It's just really how it's applied, right? The intention behind it. But for AI, we have a whole chapter in the updated version of Limitless on how to use AI to enhance your HI, your human intelligence. And for me, I think it could be a complete magnifier, because for me, it's not artificial intelligence. It's more augmented intelligence. Augmented is like a tool or a partner for you. It supports you, right? And
curated intelligence. Right?
Exactly. And I'm so excited about the future of education, because you could have personalized learning, around AI, which makes it a lot, simpler and stronger. But even the things I'm mentioning, like if I mention neuroplasticity, somebody could go into some chatbot and says, explain to me neuroplasticity as if I'm 10 years old. And that could give you a nice foundation understanding of something. Literally all the techniques and principles you're learning in Limitless, you could go into AI. So when I'm talking about mind mapping, you could upload something into an AI program and say, mind map this for me, right? Or build a memory palace for the speech I need to be able to easily remember, right? So I can easily remember it. It could help, do space review, which is a technique we teach about, where you quiz yourself on things that you're learning. But I'm just, even we have a podcast, maybe 400 episodes, like a 20-minute show. And sometimes if I'm interviewing an expert and I didn't get their book in time, maybe it got lost in the mail, I could go in there and say, give me a summary of this book, or propose 10 thoughtful questions this person hasn't been asked before publicly that my brain audience would appreciate.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful partner. And I don't use anything verbatim, but it's a wonderful creative partner also as well. And so, I feel like AI is a wonderful tool. Again, with technology, it's kind of a double-edged sword, though. I just want to make sure that people are still doing the work. It's kind of like, there's this term that I talk about, the like 4 horsemen of the mental apocalypse, I think are affecting all of us. And it's like invisible because we're so used to it. It's kind of like the fish in the water. It doesn't know the water's there because it's known it its whole life, right? Yeah. And you can't see always what's right in front of you. But the first one's digital distraction. Like, how do you maintain your concentration in a world full of rings, pings, dings, app notifications, social media alerts, when we're getting this dopamine flood for every like, share, comment, cat video, whatever? That's why we have those sections on, flow and focus. And we could talk about, how questions could direct your RAS, your reticular activating system. So you could have amazing focus to remember what you read, to remember, and even taking the knowledge that you're saying, like knowledge is potential power is the truth. It's not power, it's potential power. It becomes power when you utilize it. And you could change your focus to utilizing information, like even asking 3 questions throughout this podcast. The things I ask every time you listen to this show, right? So everyone subscribe, right? To Right About Now, you're subscribing, you're listening to it, and you're asking 3 questions. How can I use this? Why must I use this? And when will I use this? These are 3 questions I ask dozens of times a day, and it helps me take knowledge and turn it into real power and profit. So I'm obsessed, throughout conversations, I'll be like, how can I use this? And I'll think of all these ways. And then why must I use this? Because a lot of people know what to do, but they have no impetus. And without a reason, you won't get the result or the reward, right? Because we're not logical. How people say they don't buy logically, they buy emotionally. And that's definitely more elephants and creative dolphins. But we're not logical, we are biological. You think about dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. We're this chemical feeling soup, right? So we have to tap into those emotions. So I ask myself, how can I use this? Why must I use this? And then when will I use this? Because I think one of the most powerful productivity performance tools we have is our calendar, right? And if it's not in your schedule, you're just not going to do it. We schedule doctor's appointments or investor meetings or PTA meetings or whatever, but are we scheduling our growth? Are we scheduling our implementation? And so I think a nice guideline for everybody, for every hour you spend learning something, a podcast, an audiobook, whatever, spend an equal hour putting it into action, and your life, you'll absolutely change. So that's digital distraction, and one of the things that help you with your focus again are the questions. So those are 3 good questions. Another one that's getting in the way of people's productivity is digital dementia. I don't know if you've heard this term. It's in healthcare. I didn't coin it. It's just that the high reliance on our devices to store memories for us, meaning your phones keep probably your calendar, your to-do list, every phone number that you have, everyone you've ever met. I mean, think about, Ryan, how many phone numbers you knew growing up.
Yeah.
And how many
Dozens.
current ones? Yeah. How many current ones do you know?
Oh, and I'm going to give you a perfect example of this, Jim. Maps. Think about, like, I turn my map, like geo, even when I'm local now, places I've gone my whole life, they're like 20 miles away. And like, I'm using that. And I'm like, I used to know this. Like, that's the exact example. It's like, because my brain isn't forced to remember it, or I rely on it. That's exactly. Yeah.
I call that the third supervillain, which is digital deduction. So digital dementia is the high reliance to memorize, dependent, like the phone numbers I mentioned, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to, let me be clear. I don't want to memorize 500 phone numbers, but it should be very concerning. We've lost the ability to remember one phone number or a PIN number or a passcode or a seed phrase, or something we just read, or something we were about to say, or something that was said to us, or a person's name, right? I believe two of the most costly words in business are I forgot. I forgot to do it. I forgot to bring it. I forgot the appointment. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot what was said to me. I forgot that person's name. It just goes on and on, right? Yeah. But memory can be a magnifier, right? When you can easily remember client information, product information, give sales speeches and scripts, from memory, just things get a lot easier. So you have digital distraction, digital dementia, and then what you're illustrating, I coined in the book digital deduction, which is exactly right. With your Maps app, you don't have to think. So you're not exercising what they call your visual spatial intelligence. We used to have to remember where all this stuff was, right? Yeah. But we're not exercising it. And your brain, it's use it or lose it. It's an organ, but it acts more like a muscle. But if you took your arm, like your muscle, and put it into a sling or a cast for a year, it wouldn't stay the same.
That's right.
Right? It wouldn't grow stronger. It would grow weaker. And that's what That's what digital dementia and digital deduction is: the high reliance on technology to do the work for us, so we're not getting the mental fitness. It's similar to, let's map this out to our body. If your office or your apartment's on the 4th floor and you took an elevator every single time, it's convenient. Technology is damn convenient. Yeah. But if you're not getting your steps in, it could be crippling, right? If you have to go 8 blocks to go to do some bank transaction and you take an Uber, very convenient, right? But you don't get your steps in. So it's just kind of that balance, because I don't want people to rely on AI to do everything, because then you don't have to think and you never get the benefit of keep building that mental muscles and keeping them sharp. And finally, besides digital distraction, digital dementia, digital deduction, is just the last one, which is digital deluge. This is the overload we're feeling on a regular basis. I did this I do these programs for Google, and at the time, I remember one time the chairman's like, the amount of information that's been created since the dawn of humanity, since humans walked the planet to the year 2003, just a couple decades ago, that amount of information is now created every 2 days today. Wow. Think about podcasts and YouTube and social media, just there's so much data. And so the amount of information is doubling at dizzying speeds, but how we read it's the same, how we remember it, study is the same. So that growing gap is digital deluge. And they call it information anxiety, higher blood pressure, compression of leisure time, more sleeplessness, and so there's a big health ripple effect from this, so that's why we teach people how to learn faster, how to read faster, how to understand better. And I think that's why, and all these things, it's not created by technology. Technology is just amplifying all these things, and it's just going to get worse, right? And I think that's more reason why we should be taking care of our brain. Your brain, it's about 1/3 of your brain's potential is genetic and like biological, but 2/3 is in your control. So while I teach people how to read faster and sharing some of these strategies to focus and read faster, remember better, that's the software, but you have to take care of the hardware too. So, there are a number of things people could do to have their best, brightest brain that are science-based that people should just kind of consider. Because again, think about how often you upgrade your technology, right? You upgrade your phone when the new one comes out. You upgrade the apps. But when's the last time we took time to upgrade, your mind? And so I give people this acronym. It's just MEDS RX, just something to think about for everybody. MEDS RX. The M is meditation. I don't know if you have a kind of a mindfulness practice yourself, but for me, it's just one of those things where I understand your brain's not supposed to go 100 miles an hour just without any breaks. You need to take a pit stop to kind of recover, to reset. And for me, that's meditation. Meditation for me is not about being enlightened. It's about invariably when I'm sitting or lying down and my thoughts go to a client or the dry cleaning or wherever it goes, when I pull it back to a mantra, a word, or my breath, and all of a sudden I'm exercising and flexing my focus muscles. So then later on, invariably when my boy's crying or Zoom or my mind goes somewhere else, I have fitness in bringing something back to what's important for me, right? So I think that's really important. The E in meds RX is exercise, and I know everyone knows this, but I'm going to say it maybe in a little different way so it lands. I'm not just talking about working out 4 to 5 times a week. That's very important. Strength training, incredibly important. So you create dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, which is vital for cognitive health and cognitive performance. When you exercise, you create something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factors, which is fertilizer for neuroplasticity. It literally is like fertilizer for your brain to make new connections. So it's so very important. And the primary reason all of us have a brain, the number one reason is to control our movement. And as your body moves, your brain grooves. So my spin on this is not just doing the physical exercise, like at the gym for 60, 90 minutes. It's how are you moving throughout the day? They say sitting is the new smoking. I don't know if I'm alone on this, but I'm sitting behind screens like all the time, nowadays. Yeah. And it's so important for me, at least every 45 minutes, I set an alarm or so to just take a 5-minute brain break. And what do I do during that? First of all, I breathe. I do some kind of breathing exercise because I find if people fall asleep while they read or while they're working, a lot of it's because it's their posture. You collapse your diaphragm, the lower 1/3 of your lungs absorbs 2/3 of the oxygen. So you're just oxygen deprived. So you need proper airflow. So do your Wim Hof breathing, your box breathing, your fire breathing, whatever it is. During that 5 minutes, I also, you notice throughout the conversation, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe there too, is hydrate. Your brain is 75% water. And a lot of times I had a neuroscientist nutritionist on our podcast recently, and she said, if you're just 2% dehydrated, you're impairing your cognitive health and cognitive performance. And staying hydrated will boost your reaction time and thinking speed upwards of 30%. That's not a little lift. That's a huge lift. So my brain break, I breathe, I get some liquids. And then the third thing is I move, because I just don't want to, I feel like also I do my best thinking when I'm moving. Yeah. There's been studies that have been shown if you listen to an audiobook and you're doing something rhythmic, like you're on an elliptical or a treadmill or you're going for a brisk walk, you actually understand it better and retain it better also as well. So that's exercise. The D is diet. So meds RX, meditation, exercise, D is diet. And we have 2 chapters in here on an area of science called Neuro Nutrition, that your brain is only 2% of your body mass, but it requires 20% nutrients. And some of those nutrients are different than the rest of your body, right? And so we talk about some of the best brain foods. And again, everyone's bio-individual. Some people have certain allergies and, you can't absorb certain things as well as other people. But some of my favorite kind of go-to, avocados, blueberries, my favorite, very neuroprotective. I call them brain berries. Broccoli has something called sulforaphane in it. If you sprout it, it's actually many, many, many more times, which is good for cognitive health and performance. Olive oil. If your diet allows eggs, the choline in eggs is really good for at least acetylcholine, which is very vital for cognitive health and performance. Helps with your memory. Green leafy vegetables, good for your brain. Salmon or sardines, because your brain's mostly fat. So getting your omega-3s, your DHAs. Turmeric. The active ingredient is curcumin, which helps to lower systemic inflammation. Walnuts, high in vitamin E. They're very good for neuroprotective for the brain. And dark chocolate, probably everyone's favorite. Dark chocolate, not milk chocolate, not high sugar, good for your brain. But these are some nutrients that could help you And if you don't get it from your diet, I always prefer it, then you supplement. If you don't have turmeric in your diet, then you could supplement it with curcumin. If you're not getting the eggs, you could supplement with choline. If you're not getting the flax seeds or the wild salmon or sardines, and you can supplement with DHA or omega-3s, right? And then we talk about nootropics in the book for the very first time. In 30 years, I've never talked about. So the supplements I mentioned are good for cognitive health, but cognitive health is different than cognitive performance. So, we talk about nootropics, which really are the the substances that can enhance cognitive function, particularly executive functioning, memory, creativity, motivation, things like ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an adaptogenic herb. It improves mental and physical resilience and may help you to reduce stress and improve cognitive function. Something I'm very excited about in the nootropic category is this whole coffee fruit extract. Basically, it's the fruit from the coffee plant. It's a byproduct, usually discarded. It doesn't have caffeine, but it's a very strong antioxidant, has a positive impact on cognitive function. L-theanine, which is what I happen to be drinking right now in my green tea. It's a popular nootropic, promotes relaxation without the drowsiness, and it can enhance brain function. And probably some, other favorites that some of you might be already using, like creatine. Most people use it to work out. They use their 5 grams or whatever. But this is one of the most studied substances for human beings. And it's naturally produced by our bodies. It's predominantly found in meat and fish, and it plays a crucial role in energy metabolism. But a number of studies have shown that creatine supplementation can improve cognitive function, especially in tasks that require short-term memory and quicker thinking. It's been shown to help offset some of the negative effects of a bad night's sleep. There's so many different things. Lion's mane. We actually put a list in here in Limitless for those who have it, or you could download it for free. There's nothing to buy. You just go to brainnutrition.com, and that's the current list of 30 ingredients with the spelling. That are the things, some of the ones I mentioned, and I linked to all the human studies to be able to back up its efficacy. So that's diet. And then this goes like turning into a masterclass. Ned, RX, the D is diet, S is sleep. I mean, I don't know, Ryan, how's your sleep in general?
I get 7 hours and probably every night. And if I get 9, I feel a little drowsy. And if I get 6, I feel tired. I don't know. I think it's like my magic.
Yeah. So it's the quantity of sleep, but then it's also the quality. It's the amount of the REM sleep and the deep sleep. REM in general, I'm being like super high level, but REM is kind of where your brain recovers. The deep sleep is where your body recovers, right? Yeah. And the idea here is, like, we all know how we feel, how our brain feels when we don't get a good night's sleep. We can't focus. We have no mental fortitude or energy. We can't, easily solve problems. We're very forgetful. Things to think about when it comes to your brain and sleep. When you sleep, you consolidate short to long-term memory. If you have long-term memory issues, you could go to a doctor, and you don't have to do an overnight sleep study. They could send it to you. You do it in the comfort of your own bed. Because some people have undiagnosed sleep apnea or some other thing that they should get addressed. And, every time I mention this, I always get on social media, people like, wow, this saved my life. I didn't realize that I stopped breathing 200 times a night and all this stuff. Also, when you sleep, you clean out the sewage system kicks in your brain when you sleep. So it cleans out the beta amyloid plaque that could lead to dementia and other brain aging challenges. So if you're not sleeping, you're not getting that benefit. And the third reason is sleep. If that wasn't, there are many more reasons. It's where we dream. And I don't think a lot of people, I talk about this in Limitless, a lot of things in our culture were created, inventions, literature, music was created in dreams. Like Mary Shelley created Frankenstein in her dream. Paul McCartney came up with the song Yesterday in his dream. A chemist created the periodic table in his dream. Elias Howe created the sewing machine in his dream. I could just give you a million examples. But the idea here is your brain doesn't shut off at night. In some ways, it's more active, and it's integrating and focusing, coming up with solutions and innovations of what you focused on that entire day. And so that's why in the book, and if you want to watch an interesting video, you could search my name, Jim Kwik. You have to spell it right, Kwik. My real last name, I didn't change it to do what I do. It's my father's name, my grandfather's name. But put my name in, How to Remember Dreams, and you'll see a video with millions of views and just, how to remember your dreams. Because a lot of people do have incredible creative dreams that could help their life with their work or their personal life, or whatever. You come up with solutions, but they forget it, And so that's why sleep. My favorite sleep tips, I'm curious what yours are, or anyone that's listening is, get direct sunlight first thing in the morning. I can't stress this enough. As somebody who, myself, at the height of my career, I was traveling 240 days a year. I could be on 3 continents in a week. My sleep, jet lag, everything. I have very severe sleep apnea, so I stopped breathing 250 times a night. So every time counts as at least 10 seconds. So I'd wake up suffocating. I use CPAP, dental devices. My wife thinks it's very sexy. But I bring this up because I know what it's like to have compromised sleep and how you feel when you're not. But direct sunlight, your eyes are the only part of your brain that's outside of your skull. So it helps to reset your circadian rhythm. Also, most people have an alarm to wake up. Highly recommend you have an alarm to go to bed. And because your brain loves a schedule and a routine, going even on the weekends to go to sleep at the same time, wake up at the same time. And then the two biggest movers probably for most people, as hunter-gatherers, we would know it would be time to sleep because the environment would tell us there'd be a decrease in two elemental factors, temperature and light. So we sleep better when it's darker and when it's cooler. The challenges when it comes to dark is our devices, because when you're on your devices, not only is it stimulating you, right, mentally, putting you in your executive mode as opposed to your parasympathetic rest and digest, but the light, the blue light, is confusing our mind and thinking it's still daylight. So you don't produce the melatonin, which is the hormone to help you relax, and phase into that sleep. So, as dark as possible, ideally, the best way of changing habits, I think, is controlling your environment. Just not have, for us, we put our phones in our, in our bathroom just so we don't have to grab it first thing in the morning or, late at night. And then cooler. Now we're so cold where you're shivering because that'll keep you up. But even if you take a warm bath or a sauna or a warm shower, when you leave the shower, your core body temperature drops, and that's a signal to produce melatonin to help you sleep better. But that's the meds. And then the RX part, meds RX, it's not a pharmaceutical. R is relationships. Having people close to you is on our podcast, we had one of the doctors that's leading the largest study at Harvard on happiness and longevity, decades long. And it says it wasn't exercise and it wasn't nutrition, it was relationships, that led people to be happy. And, so I think we all need people to encourage us, to challenge us, to cheerlead for us, to push us, to be kind to us, to call us on our own BS, and if you haven't found that person, I think you have to be that person for somebody else. I've heard you on videos talk about, the power of the people you spend time with, where the average of the 5 people, and the reason why is from a science perspective, we have these mirror neurons, mirror like when you're shaving. It's a reflection. We tend to mirror the people around us that we spend most time with, consciously and unconsciously. And what are we mirroring? I would say watch. The W is words. We use the same words and language as the people around us. The A are actions. Like whether or not you smoke has less to do with your biological networks. It's your social networks. If we're around everyone if everyone spent time with worked out, we would work out, right? If every time we said was eating right, we would eat right. If they were meditating, we would do that same. Smoking, same thing. So actions. The T are our thoughts. We tend to think the same way as the people around us. The C and watch are character. We tend to have the same moral compass as the people we spend time with, the same level of integrity. And finally, the H and watch are habits. And I want to remind everyone, first we create our habits, then our habits create us. But we tend to have the same habitual routines as the people we spend the most time with, right? Because we're always mirroring it. The mirror neurons create empathy, and that's what allows us to imitate people around us. Children activate that. That's why they're such fast learners, watching, other people. So that's the R's, relationships. And finally, the X are all the extras. I know you had our mutual friend Dave Asprey on, like biohacking, cold therapy, and hyperbaric chamber, and saunas. All that is extra. I would put that last. Because I think the foundational stuff is still, the exercise, the diet, the sleep, the relationships, but, all those extras. Yeah. But again, everyone wants to know what the magic pill is. There's no magic pill, but there is a process. And I'm really excited about that process. I think it's achievable for everybody. A lot of things I mentioned, meditation, exercise, you don't have to spend a lot of money to do it, sleep. I mean, these are big needle movers and doesn't necessarily cost. But what we have to do is pay attention to it.
Of course. And I'm going to leave everyone as we close out here with Jim Kwik with a quote. It's from his book. It's not his quote. It's under thinking. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. And so if you want to change, you got to take action on what Jim talked about today. And if you really want to take action, you need to get this book, Limitless. I've got it. I've skimmed through it and read it. I did my speed reading that I learned from Jim, and because I've only had it for a couple of weeks before he came on, and I'm learning a lot. But I'm more excited for my son Clayton. So, Jim, I can't thank you enough for your time and your gifts. Where can everyone keep up and learn more about everything you're doing?
I'll summarize what we've talked about. Go to brainnutrition.com and get our guide, the 30 different ingredients that have human studies that will enhance your focus, your memory. My Brain Animal is probably the most exciting revelation we've made in personal learning. It's a free test for your community. It takes 4 minutes. Text it to your friends and family members, see what brain animal they are. It'll definitely engage some industry in conversation. You also get reports from me on how to sell and market and learn and read faster based on your brain animal. So that's at mybrainanimal.com. You get the book anywhere that books are sold. Limitlessbook.com is probably the easiest place. We have links, minutes around the world. And then, just connect on social media. I would love for everybody to maybe take a snapshot of wherever they're consuming this right now, and tag Ryan, tag myself, so we get to see it and share one thing you're going to do for a better brain. Because I think like when you share it, you get to learn it twice. It's called the explanation effect. When you learn something with the intention of teaching somebody else, you're going to learn it so much better. So if you post like that one nugget that you got out of this to your fans, your followers, your family, your friends, then you get to be able to learn, earn, and return, because I feel like that's what we're due. Like how to become limitless in a limited world. We do it together. So I encourage everyone to post it and share like the one nugget, the one action you're going to take, after this conversation. And we'll gift out a few copies randomly of Limitless, to your community, to people who do post that, just as a thank you for having us on the show.
Great. Jim, I really appreciate you coming on. And we'll have all of that information in the show notes. You know where to find us, folks. RyanIsRight.com. We'll have the show notes, the links to these things, and let's go find out what animal you are, baby. You got to know how you learn. When you know how you learn, you can apply that to how you learn and grow with others. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll see you guys next time. Right About Now.
This has been Right About Now with Ryan Alford, a Radcast Network production. Visit RyanIsRight.com for full audio and video versions of the show or to inquire about sponsorship opportunities. Thanks for listening.